Well, you might be a bit disappointed about my speech because I'm going to speak about specifications and specifications. In 20 minutes, which is what I have been allotted, you will not learn specifications and how to implement them. Next slide, please. Let's put it this way. We are celebrating, quite frankly, e-archiving, but we're also celebrating 10 years of specifications in Europe. You have already heard that a number of times today, that one of the big things we have done is the specifications. I've been working with it for almost 20 years. It takes some time to get people to understand what specifications are, and also why we should be using them. It's not easy. Next slide. So when I started off with this in 2006, I think this image was created. I've been showing this image in a number of occasions. We are in an archival setting. This is the standards that were available about 15 years ago, almost 18 years ago when I started with this, that you can use to transfer and preserve information. Should I be using all of them? Most certainly not. I need to know which one I should be using. And the big thing is to know, how am I supposed to use them? A few in this room is native English speakers. I'm not a native English speaker. I speak Swedish and a number of other languages. Let's put it this way. A file is a file is a file. Is that true or not? It has different meanings when we translate it. It's a tricky business we're in. So on the next slide, how can we transfer all this information? We already heard it. Today we create information en masse. I'm a computer engineer in programming. I'm not an archivist. Before that, I was working as an electrical engineer. So I'm going from high voltage to really, really low voltage. And in 1996, we had that big revolution. We got computers and printers. And what happened? Of course, we print everything 3 times just to make sure we have it on paper. Have we stopped doing that? No, people haven't. But we do have those 3 information gatherings, call them files, as in computer files, in more places than one. And we want to take them somewhere. And quite frankly, I don't care who the receiver is, if it's a national archive or it's, as for me, our archive that is for our 39 members in the south of Sweden, or if it's a private company, or if it's actually myself. We need an easy way to order this information so we can understand it. Or if I'm sending something to my page turner today, he speaks Spanish, we need to have some common ground so he can understand my information. And quite frankly, that's the thing for all of us. You need to understand the information I'm sending. Even if you maybe can't read my information itself, because that might be in Swedish, and some of you don't have our 3 last letters in the alphabet, or where is also island in Swedish. How can we do that? Get a nice package that we can move around, that everybody can understand. So on the next slide, the key to interoperability is actually how we move the information around, how we package the information. And at the same time, when we do that, we have it future-proof. We need to think about how we structure things, because if we can do it in a common way, everybody can understand the information. And this one is showing in a simplified way, down bottom left, we have a citizen or someone working at the municipality, at an agency, at whatever, entering information that ends up in your business system. We are talking a lot of E's today, so all the E ways you can use and some more. That information needs to be moved around. We might need to get a new system. How do we do that in the easiest way? We might need to send it to another agency. Someone needs to get to know more information. Someone needs my information. Okay, I was really bad. I did a really bad parking. And that needs to go all around so people can see that I have a, not that I have, it's 35 years since I did that last time, sorry. Or we want to publish it on the web. What we can publish on the web. A lot of the information when we talk about agencies and municipalities has personal data in it. You can't really put that out online, but what you can put out online, if we do this in a common way, using the same specifications, the same way of structuring it, it's really easy to reuse. And at the same time, if we then have those common grounds and put everything into a package or in a box, it's easy to send it to the archive, and then we can start everything around again. So this small figure should actually be extended in infinity, because you never know where the information will be needed or when. If it is tomorrow, yesterday we don't need to worry about, really. We need to think about tomorrow. And maybe not my tomorrow. I have no kids, so I'm quite lucky there. I don't need to worry about school things and all of that. But I know that the information I create today, especially with what I'm doing, that is going to be interesting for a long time. We need to make sure that our information is future-proof. If we go to the next slide. So having these specifications that we have developed during E-ARK and are continuing to develop, we make sure that we have this interoperability. English has become a really common language. I'm sorry for all the people speaking French. Bonjour, that's my ending of French. And English has really become the way of being able to transfer information in an understandable way, with the caveat that all are not native speakers, so you need to think about the words you are using or explain the words you are using. So where did we start off? On the next slide. It's kind of not a race, but it is a race. You have already, I would say, heard that a lot of the digital information that we have created is lost. I can say that for my municipalities that I'm working with, what we are receiving to the archives, since we are the digital archive for them, is information from systems that they stopped using 20 years ago. But they have still needed to have access to the information, and now we need to aid them with how do you get the information out? How is it understandable? Because someday the citizen who is mentioned in that system will definitely come and ask for his or hers or theirs information. That's what we need to think about. Someone wants the information back or see it. We're not going to alter the history. You have a lot of things about that in EADAS and the data regulation and everything, that the archives are sort of, we don't need to change the information. I've seen requests for that as well when I worked in Natural Archives. You know, that was written about me and that file was wrong. Okay, but yeah, sorry, we can't change that. it is as it is recorded. So we started off on this long run on the next slide. But quite frankly, when eArk started, one of the things was that there was supposed to be reuse of things that already had done. I said I started off with specifications almost 20 years ago. In Sweden, we started a project, and I can't even remember when nowadays because it's almost as long ago as that. But just before eArk started, the Swedish project E-ARK. So let's come on. We are not good at acronyms. No one is. And where are we? Yeah, we are in acronym land. The Swedish project E-ARK created the first specifications, which was built upon and refined in eArk. And the common ground, which has already been mentioned on the next slide, is the OAS reference model. And the big thing is that we go to the next slide. The previous one is not easy to explain to someone who doesn't understand the technicalities. We have something, we put it in a bag. That's our incoming submission. I store it in my fridge, and it's a really good fridge. It can store things for eternity. When I put it there, I can either put my bag in as it is, or I can switch things around. That's my archival information package. And then someone wants the information, and then we can go into the technicalities. So if I'm cooking a meal, do I destroy the information or not? This is a typical dish from the area where my company has its head office. I'm not going to try to explain it to you because you will not like it. Or do we give them the whole backpack? So that's the thing. What we need to do is with the specifications, make things a bit more understandable. Because we need to explain this to all the people who are not in the archives. And the people in the archives need to start talking with all the people around. We need to do this together. So where are we sailing on the next slide? I'm from the Viking lands. Of course, I'm sailing on a Viking boat. Come on. The first thing that happened was on the next slide, that we got utkast, this draft in Swedish. Here, you see, I'm taking slowly over. Swedish will be the language, not English. We handed the draft over to what was created. We have already heard mentioned earlier today that there were a wish that this should be going on. And the big thing that needed to be going on was the specifications. So the DILSIS board was created. They took over the specification. It actually happened things, even if we didn't have an eArk. Things are going on when we don't have an eArk, and that's the important thing. The specifications are here to stay. So on the next slide, the big thing is making enhancement and stability of this specification. They are the core business for me. I quite frankly don't care about the softwares. I want to have a way to somewhere to point people that structure the information in this way. That also means that we don't update every second. We have a maintenance cycle. We do this in following a schedule, so they are stable. So the vendors, I know we have some of them in this room, don't look at me and say, Karin, what are you doing? We need to be stable. And adding more on the next slide is something that we need to do together. I know a lot of things, but I most certainly don't know everything. So the people who know the information needs to take part. So how to engage with the specifications on the next slide, now and in the future? Well, on the next slide, GitHub is where we publicize the specifications. If you have an account, you can interact in more ways than if you don't have an account, but they are there. You can give comments, and if you go to the next slide, we have open calls. Give us questions, issues, suggestions. You need to interact. Even if I know that if you keep silent, you think I'm doing it the correct way. But I need some feedback. We all in the DILSIS board need feedback. Because otherwise it's just us guessing. Feedback is an important thing. So on the next slide, Really, the specifications gives us interoperability. It gives us a way of moving information so everybody can understand it. Even if they can't read the information itself, the structure gives that we know what it is. A title is a title is a title. It's as simple as that. We can also on the next slide see, and this is just one example, that the specifications are being used as the rules for interoperability. In Sweden, the National Archives a year ago stated that the common specification for information packages, together with the E-ARK SIP specification, are supposed to be the way you transfer information in a package. Same for records management. It's the SITS ARMS that is the preferred way that you should extract your information and put it in to transfer information to the National Archives. And this is coming more and more, and it's happening even without us knowing it, which is okay. But it's good for me to have possibilities to put images like this, I know. So, yeah, if you take the next slide. Let's put it this way. The specifications is actually our key to understand today in the future, as the FUTARK was to understand the runestones. So FUTARK was the most common letters on the Swedish runestones that made it possible for us to, we can read them today. So if you go to the next one, they are here to stay. We all need to use them, reuse them, and contribute. It's our toolbox to make sure we are here in the future. Thank you.